All right. A long overdue episode of Gratcast. I procrastinated quite a bit, as the title of the episode says. Um, Probably should have been doing this episode. This probably should have been the third episode. The second episode should have been about a month ago. Get into a little bit about what happened through February and March, where we're kind of at now. But I got a couple cheap plugs here. I've got to get in first. Recently, we wrapped up our sports sushi singles series. We had guests join us for specific topics. We had the psychological impact of sports on the community with guest Tyler Dunn. We had what it takes to make it with Tim Graham. We had the difference between good and great with Del Reed, founder of the Bills Mafia. We had sports as a business, what that actually means with Drew Gear of the Rockpile Report. We had the culture of losing with Sweatpants Joe. We had parents in sports with Dan Gambino. Activism in sports with my guy David Coyle. And the art of team building with Ernie Green. That entire playlist and those episodes are available anywhere you find Gratwick, anywhere you find your podcasts. You can get those out there. Some great conversations. I've got a lot of clips I've got to create and get those and share those out there. I'm terrible with making the clips, but actually one of the websites I've been using lately is called QuickVid. QuickVid.ai. You just upload your video to it, and it AI generates clips. They're on par with like a quick rough cut. So, but it allows you to change the beginning and ending handles of them to create and export the clips a lot faster than if you're scrubbing and going through yourself. Wasn't planning on plugging that one, but seemed like a good time to do it. Additionally, at the beginning of February, which maybe kind of sent us down these off roads. Steph from OpenVC was kind enough to roast our deck. I don't want to roast the roaster too much, but you can't just go through every page and be like, I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to read that. And then ask questions about the very things that the things you didn't want to read said. But some of the design comments and criticism was spot on and helpful and useful. So we're in the middle of a deck redesign right now and have brought in some new team members to help us get that stuff on track. And ironically, perfect timing, the Humble Fund, which is a VC group that I've been following that fund startups. They created this ebook, a PDF for raising capital that's soup to nuts. Everything you need to know, from how valuations break down, from equity, how to build your deck, what to include in the deck. Perfect timing on that. So the link is going to be in the bio of any of these videos that you're seeing wherever. But that ebook, if you're looking to raise money, amazing, free on top of it. So thanks to them, we're applying a lot of the knowledge in there. Greatly appreciated. So general topic, got a couple other details, things to touch on, team building, all of that. But I want to talk about procrastination. Ideally productive procrastination is is how I'm rationalizing it. And everything. The hard part is figuring out what to share. Like, everything's kind of a moving target. Things are happening fast. There's a lot of ebbs and flows. There's good information. There's what I thought was good information. Then there's setbacks and things that didn't turn out to be what they said, that just are natural things that happen. So, like, through the entire month of February, as I was trying to get ready to do prepare the March newsletter, as I was getting ready to do Gratcast and that, things kept shifting. Things kept changing. So I'm like, I'll put it off another day, wait till things clarify a little more, wait till they solidify. And then I'll do this stuff. And it spiraled, it snowballed. Then by the time I went to do the newsletter, which hopefully our members got, if you're not signed up for the newsletter, go to gratwick.co and just quickly sign up for the newsletter. You get a free copy of Hallowed Be Thy Name. I don't want to touch on that too much here soon because I've got graphics for that. But yeah, you get a free copy of my first novel, Hallowed Be Thy Name. And everything's trying to be set up and work out on top of itself. And one of the things was conversions and the newsletter. All of a sudden, apparently, I don't know if it's Google, I don't know if it's government, I don't know who it is. I didn't bring my tinfoil hat with me tonight, so I don't know who it is. But rules changed in February, and something about marketing emails and DNCs or DNSs. Sorry, we don't want to get into the DNCs. The DNSs, DKIMs, SPFs, and not the sunscreen sign. Those are I'm pro SPF, but not these. All changed. Now it had to be done on this back end. Got to do this, that, the other thing. The email wouldn't send. So again, just sending a newsletter, which I wrote on Friday, took me my entire weekend and part of Monday problem solving to figure out, quite frankly, why the fuck the emails aren't going out and sending because of all this nonsense. Finally got all of that unraveled and got the emails out. But it's just a perfect example of how, like, when to do it, when to have it. Spiral went out of control. Additionally, we ran ads in February, started doing test runs. We're trying to figure out conversion rates, how many ads impressions it takes to get people to go to the website, see the information, then sign up and change over. And at the same time as we're doing that, like, I'm running all this on myself. I got one Bills hat, but it's the captain's hat for 10 different departments. So while I'm trying to run these ads, figure out these conversion rates, set all this stuff up, I'm also trying to bring and recruit people onto the team that can help with all of these things, so they're done in a much more competent and efficient manner. And some of the people that we've got on and brought on coming up to speed, they're like, listen, the information you got on the website is too detailed, too big. You're just giving people a lot of information. More digestible nuts, which I've always noticed. I've always known. But marketing is like antithetical to everything I try to believe and stand for. I feel like so much of marketing is emotional manipulation. It's manufacturing and packaging things into lowest common denominators. A lot of it starts out by identifying who your customer is. And to me, that just feels like blatant stereotyping. And like, it's just assuming everybody fits in nice, neat boxes. And as a creator, like, I hate the idea of genre. Like, I get genre. You're making a horror movie, you're making a sci-fi movie, fine. But I don't like the idea of a genre creator. Like, oh, all I can do is tell love stories. That's ridiculous to me. If you can tell a good story, you should want to tell a good story across all sorts of different genres and mediums. That's just how I feel. So naturally, I don't want to pigeonhole people into specific boxes or come up with clickbait and simple ideas to share things that I think are really authentic, meaningful, and have a chance to really do something and mean something out there. But the argument of, well, there's a lot of things out there, people's attention spans, it's got to be easily digestible, they got to be able to grasp it right away as they're moving by, and then find out more and go down the rabbit hole and get deeper into what you're trying to do. I get it. It makes sense. The pragmatic side of my brain is on board with it. I've been on board with it for a while, but there needs to be people that know how to do that without me forcing myself to try to do that. It just is not, it's not effective. It's not going to work. So Paulo's joined the team. Haley's joined the team. Lauren is secretly joining the team, engineering the app design from the background, as we're starting to get ducks in a row. And you're taking all the information from the roast, taking information from the website, taking all this stuff and building out a new deck that has more of a professional marketing flair to it than my pragmatic, listen, let me tell you all the great things that are happening here, and just watching people's eyes gloss over. So if you like detailed descriptions and lots of nuance and my thinking was, the harder you kick the tire here, the better things look. So if I give you all the stuff, it's going to look even better than if I tried to manipulate you with the little stuff and made you think that we're great. Not not mainstream effective. Definitively proven that. So the goal is to start kind of representing everything with a nuance and a marketing flair and touch for branding, um, all the different elements that I've got this, you see something different from this, but like it just the same, and you can kind of highlight and present it in a different angle than maybe I could. So it just needs to be polished. But when you're already starting with like a rusted brass rail, once you polish that bad boy up, you start looking at a nice shiny brass rail. So that's what we're going for if you're into brass rails. Moving on, as I said, Haley. I don't want to give you too many details on these folks yet. Their presence and their impact and their personalities will rise to the surface over the coming weeks here. And I don't want you to go scooping them out from underneath us. But Haley, branding expert from the Appalachian Mountains. Not where you think you'd find traditional branding expert, but that's why we're not looking for traditional. We're looking for effective people with character, personality, principles, crazy shit like that. Paulo is like, he's kind of got like a Spicoli vibe to him, but like he's very smart and perceptive. He's got strategy, ads. Well, I stopped the ads because he's just like, dude, you're not doing this right. Very interesting guy. One of the few people I've engaged with on a regular basis so far who like really, really adopted the voice memos. He loves the voice memos. I couldn't do the voice memos. But yeah, friendly. My advice to you folks: don't do the voice memos. Luckily, my phone automatically transcribes the voice memo, so it's just like a long text. But I don't know. I feel like that's just, I don't know. It never took off. Never. I don't know. It's weird for me. Of all the little ways to communicate and send messages, I feel like voice memos are just unusual. Anyway, with these people in place, with Kelly coming on board, well, she's been on board forever, but Kelly is a dear friend of Gratwick, and she's going to be helping on the project management side and the fundraising side. Thankfully, she's coming in to play cleanup because one of the setbacks in the last month and a half, and tangent time. Right before the pandemic, there was this client that we started doing a little bit of work for and stuff. I was one of the early people that I cold called and reached out to and pitched on potentially investing in Gratwick. And rookie mistake, early fucking just learning how the world works. The guy completely flipped it around on me and had me in Florida like 3 days later working for him, kind of working for him, filming stuff, but not like telling me what I'm going to do with the stuff and why we're filming it, but wanting like all this top level, wanted to do a reality show, all sorts of crazy stuff. And so I'm balancing between whether like, is this now like client relationship, which fine, we could use the income, or is this like leading towards potential investment relationship? Because you say like the ideas, say like the vision, all these things that are happening. And he just ended up being a wild maniac. And he had like a horse racing farm down in Florida. He was originally from New York City. We met him at one point in San Francisco, and just all four corners of the US, coincidentally, December of 2019. Every airport in the four corners of the US in December of 2019. January of 2020, Chris was down with a mysterious virus for 2 weeks. Thought I was going to die. Our dog did die a few months later. Pretty sure I gave him the vid. Anyway, So for like 2-3 months, this guy's running hot. We're gonna do this. We're doing that. We're making cold storage coins. We're gonna do a reality show and just all over the map and just trying to like impress. Thanks for the opportunity. Hopefully he likes my ideas. Da da da. And then out of nowhere, after we ran up our credit card bills on money that was going to be reimbursed and covered and all of this stuff, it was like springtime just went dark. No communication, no follow up, no information. A lot of different people were interested, reaching out to us. Everyone's asked. Nobody knows anything. Guy disappeared off the face of the earth. And Andrea, bless her soul, like hunted down everything, freaking chased down the missus that was a business partner there, got us reimbursed on the money and stuff. But the wife and business partner, tells Andrea straight up, she's like, listen, he's a creative person. He's got seasonal depression or whatever the hell it is. Like apparently in the wintertime, he goes to Florida and is all creative, juices flowing. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Getting everybody fired up, recruiting a new group of centric people that are all going to take over the world. And is in love with his horse racing lifestyle. And then when the spring breaks or something like that, then he comes back to New York City and it's the corporation, the business really gets all depressed. And she's basically said he was a manic. And there's the highs, there's the lows, and then he disappears for a while when he's in the manic stage, and then pops up out of nowhere a year later and wants to pick up where he left off. And nutty shit. And I tell this story because like that's my nightmare scenario. Is like being seen or perceived that way, and also just being emotionally aware of the journey and the take and the like. Every time you have a setback, like it just, man, you feel bad. You told these people this thing, you told those people that thing, and everybody is kind of delicately reliant on everybody being able to do what they say they can do. And one person unintentionally doesn't do what they say they can do, and everything kind of falls around. You look like you're holding a set of balls, and nobody wants to be in that position. So the delicate part of man, I hate saying this name, but it's always so relevant. Siphius, I believe his name is Siphius, not syphilis. Greek dude that's just stuck spending his eternal life pushing the rock up the hill, only to have the rock roll back over him and have to start over and over again. The problem is every time you get that rock going, it's starting from scratch, so it's reliant on not just your strength but other people's strength to help get the ball rolling. And when you have a number of people getting the ball rolling and you expect more people to be coming in to get the ball rolling, and then the ball gets rolling a little bit and some of those people don't show up, or some of the other people for unknown reasons fall by the wayside, there's less than you thought it was when you're starting it up the hill. And now you either got to regroup quickly on the fly or get hit by that rock again and start going again. And if you get like knocked off your feet or knocked back a little bit when that setback occurs, it's a lot harder to recover quickly and not lose ground, not lose momentum, and hopefully continue forward at the same speed or accelerate on it because you were able to pivot quickly. That basically happened at the beginning of February. We thought we had a lot of the key elements of the initial phase here covered. Be able to get our legal documents for raising the first round of capital we need to get the MVP built, to get off the ground, which isn't much. We're looking at a plan that has us raise $100,000 to get marketing, branding, and an MVP built through a company called Cream Digital that is out of Toronto, ironically, kind of where I'm from. Sort of south of the border on a good side, obviously, but not far away. A lot of stories from Toronto. And with that, branding, marketing, and raising another $150,000 with that momentum and that proper positioning. That $150,000 we intend to use to launch a crowdfund equity campaign that will allow anyone to invest as little as $250 into Gratwick. You get a lifetime subscription with that. You get equity into Gratwick. We plan on doing a dividend plan yearly, so people that hold equity in Gratwick actually get money year in and year out on their investment. The goal is to build a entertainment community that is completely self-sustainable. The community provides the creators, the submissions, the content, and then the community decides and elevates and raises from those submissions the ones that they want to see go into development. Then casting, crew, vendors, work, all of those opportunities go to the community first and foremost. So it is beneficial to have a modest subscription within the community and engage and partake in the community. Then the content will be produced, and while it's produced, we're going to surround it with a real-time reality show that has influencers hosting days on set, that has Q&As all the time, that has different feedbacks, live auditions, all this type of real-time access to the creative process of these different creators that were elevated through the community, so you can see and experience how they and their team build their art and bring this stuff all together. Then the content will be distributed into the platform. Obviously, if you're a subscriber and a member, any of the content produced through this business model will be free to everyone within the community. Then there'll be ad revenue content. There'll be what we're looking at with New Rev, where it's kind of pay to engage. The more content you watch, the more you engage within the community. All of that aspect, it generates revenue for both the brand and the user, creator, member of that community. And then just third-party licensing the content out like you traditionally would. And the goal is to start with modest projects that can be self-sustained by the community and grow this media fund out as the projects are successful, as they build an audience and a community within there. But to do all of this in the most efficient, effective way with the highest profit margin, we need our own app to do it. Cut out all the bullshit. Like the amount of money that gets wasted on these third-party platforms that all these creators are dependent upon, then you can get thrown out with the wind, demonetized, deplatformed, censored without no explanations or even a course to complain or even ask for a review process on that. It's usually arbitrary, an algorithm or some canned email that comes back within that. As long as you are on and dependent on somebody else's third-party platform, you are not an independent creator. You're completely at the whims of them. And half these platforms, like your Google Plays, your Amazon Prime, your iTunes, all of these ones take 25, 30, some of them are 40%. I think some of them are in the 50-50 range of commission on there. And you're like, oh, but you're getting access to their technology and their platform. Am I really? Do you know that The Perfect House was available on iTunes? Would you stumble across Gratwick Films and The Perfect House on iTunes if you didn't already know it was there and went looking for it? I'd have to run ads and advertising and push people to iTunes to get them to go watch my movie if I was trying to sell a movie on there right now. And if I'm going to push you to iTunes, why push you to iTunes when I can push you to Gratwick? I'm not going to lose 30% pushing you to Gratwick. I'm going to gain 30%. Now my advertising is basically paying for itself. Imagine if I can monetize my advertising and content by doing live productions and all of this surrounding process while the content's being created. Each part facilitates into the rest, but it creates a truly autonomous, authentic, and unique community that we have total control over. And the goal is to build this technology to facilitate the entire business model that I've discussed, but build it in a way that once this technology exists, anyone else can use it and be autonomous and on their own data and internet system and server structure, but have their own freedom. They control their own destiny. They have their own technology, their own distribution, their own community management, their own production and video player, all of it in a way that is 100% customizable and throughout their control. That's my vision. That's what I want to build for Gratwick, but I want to build it in a way that everyone else has it. I believe Hollywood has taken advantage of all of us. I've been here long enough to see, man, Harvey ain't shit. Like, it's just an ingrained culture and way of life. And that's before you get up to the highest levels of the compromised media and intelligence attachments to everything. As long as you need their permission to create mainstream art, you're gonna serve their agenda. I mean, yes, there's the evil cabal and messaging and propaganda and part of it, but it's also dollars and cents. If they're paying for everything, if they control everything, if it's their entire infrastructure that you're using, you're going to sing and dance for them. And because they have control over that entire infrastructure, the keys to access, which forever was a monopoly, is starting to get broken up. But because they had that, artists were used as weapons against our own people or against our own population, against humanity. It's just the reality of what it is. Because artists want, need, and have this singular drive to want to create so badly, and most of them are altruistic or believe in trying in some way to do the right thing or do a higher purpose with their art. It makes them susceptible to compromise. It makes them susceptible to being pushed around. It makes them susceptible to being submissive. And the entire industry is rampant, is built on that. It is designed to sustain and take advantage of that. If you won't do it, he will. If she ain't going to do it, she will. And as long as that dynamic exists, you're at their whim, you're at their mercy. So, I mean, this is why I haven't made another film since A Perfect House, because I had no idea how everyone's going to get paid back. I couldn't raise money again to make another movie and have no control over any of this back end shit, any of this other things, that if I didn't bend the knee to the right person to screw these people in order to help those people, it's game over. So I took game over. All right. I'm not going to make another movie by your system. I'm not even going to ask people for another dollar to make another piece of content using your system. I'd rather spend the rest of my life trying to build a new system and either have a purpose with my life or get it done and successfully do it and be able to spend the rest of my life telling my stories on my terms. And the stories that I want to tell, they're never going to let me tell. Look at Just Drive. All these pictures that you're seeing here. Let me go here. All these pictures. I was trying to use AI a little bit, testing out some of the different programs, find out what was out there. Did a couple fun things, but like I was trying to redesign the Just Drive movie poster to see what AI could do with it. Just Drive is about a Hollywood whistleblower that escapes an attempt on his life in Hollywood and slips into a limousine in the middle of the Midwest. And the whole movie plays out in the course of a night like a 21st century OJ chase, where the entire world is searching and looking for him, kind of like they are right now for Kate Middleton. And this guy's just trying to figure out what to do, who he can trust, how to get out of this limo with his life intact and not have to sell his soul back out to the machine that he was trying to expose. It was loosely inspired and written off of Russell Brand and his life arc years before he started making the movie come true, which has been funny to watch. But I just was trying to create some a new movie, a new poster, and see how that stuff would work. And none of these pictures did it or encapsulated what I was looking for properly. If you look up Just Drive, the movie, you'll see the poster that I already have with a guy kind of sitting there ominously swirling his whiskey and the big Guy Fawkes Anonymous mask kind of emerging from the darkness behind him. That is the ideal vision and scope for the poster, but AI just didn't capture it very well. I was playing with Midjourney a little bit. Ironically, the one I really liked was the Google Gemini one, I think it was called, that got shut down for being too racially biased and woke or whatever the fuck it was. I don't know. But that one really, I thought, did the best image generations on the AI stuff, as long as you know what kind of race you're looking for going in. Midjourney, I don't know. It's too reliant on codes and Discord and I don't know. There's some base level coding knowledge that really helps to do the prompts and things better than they have, or better than you can typically do. If you're good with the prompts, Midjourney is probably the way to go. But I didn't like it. Let's see. What do we have here? Oh, oh, I did play with the audio. I don't know if you've heard different people made songs with other people's voices and voice cloning, and so I played with it a little bit. I think what was the name of the program that I use? It is right here. It's called 11labs.io, and I was trying to make this little video that's a spin off of the A-Team intro. And so I don't know how old most of you are. People probably don't know what the A-Team is anymore. But the A-Team starts out and there's a helicopter and he's like, 1972, this group of Vietnam veterans were charged for a crime they didn't commit. They promptly broke out of an prison and escaped into the underground of Los Angeles, where they still exist today as soldiers of fortune. And if you have a problem, if nobody can find them, or if you have a problem, nobody else can help. And if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team. That goes in the whole thing. So I wanted to kind of do my own version of that for something else, but have the same voice and lead in, just different words. And so I used my phone and recorded the audio of the character doing the intro of the song. Then I uploaded it into 11 Labs, and they analyzed it, took it there. And now, mind you, there's music playing in the background, there's sound effects in the background. It's not clear audio. Well, but it's not clean audio. So then I recorded myself saying the words that I wanted and all of that, and then boop, hit the button, came right up. You swore I got the same voiceover guy to do it. It was amazing. Like, I was giddy as shit doing it, and just, it's crazy to be able to do that kind of stuff on your own now, and where that creatively is going to go. But always with the double-edged swords. The problem with being a rational person is you get stuck arguing with yourself all the time. Like, there's one hand of me that is a producer that's been trying to produce for my entire life. One of the hardest parts of getting things off the ground is the immense number of people you have to work with and get going and get on the same page and move forward with all of that. And yes, it's a great industry and lots of jobs and careers and all sorts of different things for so many people they can do. But it's also that right. A lot of people talk about the entertainment industry. They compare it to like herding cats. Hurry up and wait. There's all these different elements and moving parts and all these different things that, like, from a producer standpoint, if your goal is really to just create something, get it done, or even as a creator standpoint, these things are all prohibitive to that. They're cost prohibitive. They're time prohibitive. They're logistics intensive. So if you can eliminate all of that stuff and just get to the creative part, where you're always playing with characters, you're always playing with story, you're always playing with footage, everybody's going to be able to make their own movies by themselves. And to me, that is absolutely amazing, because I hate how fragile everything is by the inner reliance on other people, especially when you're coming from a blue collar or a modest background, and you can't, when you're coming from a position where you can't just solve every problem with money, and money is really the only deterrent in the way of everything that you're trying to do. The only way around that is to eliminate all of the costs and the financial needs. So I get it, man. I get it from a creative standpoint. It is so attractive to me. Sora, the second I watched that, man, I started thinking I'm like, I could make Just Drive by myself. I can do all the voices. I can do all the elements. I can do all of that. If there's people that want to help and be a part of it, we can find different elements and places for them, but we're not held hostage by this over reliance on all of these different people. And immediately the other side is there and present and at the forefront. Everybody I know on the West Coast is somehow dependent on the entertainment industry, their entire livelihoods. We're not talking about a gradual reduction. We are talking about an existential threat overnight. And then you add to the fact these fucking lunatics all keep striking because their fear of AI, and you're literally cutting your own throats. You're literally saying, AI, take my job today. I'm so afraid of you taking my job tomorrow. Take it today. I don't know where it goes. I mean, I have some ideas of where it all goes, but like I don't know where this town goes. This town was already hurting. This town hadn't recovered from COVID. It hadn't recovered from theaters dying. They still will not accept that hundreds of millions of dollar movies require hundreds of millions of dollars in ticket sales. They still can't figure out the fucking math that this isn't going to happen anymore. You can't keep making these bloated blockbusters. There's not a big enough audience for it, especially when most people are going to wait to watch it on digital. You have to work within that framework. You have to downsize. You can't downsize big enough because you got a fucking 2,000-acre lot down the street with 50 sound stages that you don't need anymore. It's just a critical overhead collapse on all fronts. And then you've got all these people with their hands out that think every producer is a greedy nut job living in the fucking Hollywood Hills on millions and millions of dollars. Sure, there's plenty of them. Drive around the hills. Plenty of them. But there's also a lot of people that are trying to exist in the real world, in the new dynamic of the entertainment, that just trying to make content on responsible budgets and aren't working for the fucking studios. Like, you can't do $50 million budgets anymore because you think you're a movie star, because you produced freaking this movie, that movie that did all this money in the theaters anymore. We're not working under those fucking terms anymore. And nobody wants to adjust. Nobody wants to get less than they did before, understandably. And everybody thinks the other person is taken from them because for as long as this town's existed, they absolutely had and have been and probably still are, which is why, despite all of these existential threats, nobody but Chris and maybe a few other madmen outside of the insider circles are screaming about blockchain solves all of these problems. All of them. You know, the sooner you get copyright abilities to be able to track media across the internet, the better it's going to be across the board. I mean, what the fuck am I going to buy your subscriptions for on 20 different platforms when I can go to Nvidia.ch and in less clicks than it takes me on Netflix, I can pull up the same shows in the same quality right away. Until you guys fix that security problem, you're just there's no motivation to be a subscriber on Netflix. All you're offering me is static content in 2 clicks. Nvidia gives it to me for free. Static content in 2 clicks. So the content itself isn't going to convert people to buy subscriptions anymore. And you have to think about the subscriptions. We're not living in a movie world. It's a novelty act. Whatever you get there is great. Gravy. Downsize. Make your content for the subscribers. But don't just give them the content, because they can take and steal the content everywhere. Give them access. Give them experiences. Give them opportunities. How much would half the independent filmmakers in Hollywood pay a subscription for Netflix if it included the ability to submit your finished content or even your undeveloped content for potential funding and elevation? I'd buy that subscription tomorrow. I'd had that subscription my entire life. There are so many predatory subscriptions in this town for access to information. Do you want to know where the auditions are? Do you want a good audition? Do you want career opportunities? Do you want a job board? All these? No, I just want to be able to submit stuff to a legitimate source and get a legitimate response. Give me that fucking subscription. That's kind of the basis of where the Gratwick vision is coming from, on creating what doesn't exist for ourselves for everybody. So this tangent has gone way off the rails. I gotta pimp the book here for a second. Hallowed Be Thy Name. It's written by a madman that believes maybe humanity came from Mars and fucked that planet up and ended up here on Earth as kind of refugees, and society rebuilt itself before repeating the same bullshit over and over again, because human nature. Time is a flat circle. And so Hallowed Be Thy Name takes place a couple centuries after our present day society got this bright idea in their heads of, let's launch a thin layer of pollution into the atmosphere and block out a portion of the sun so we can let the radicals think we're doing something about global warming or climate change, whatever you want to call it, under this set of circumstances. Yeah, well, guess what? It didn't fucking work. A solar flare came, ionized the freaking layer of pollution, and flash melted the polar ice caps, creating a second great flood, While humanity fought with itself to rush into their bunkers for the elitists, word got out. Regular people tried pushing their way into the future, and society was basically washed out for another 200 years. The Vatican and all their religious nut jobs got into their bunkers. Whoever could over in North America got into their bunkers, and now hundreds of years later, society has come back out of their bunkers. There were still people on the surface that managed to survive, that are angry at everybody that withdrew into the surface. There's the religious nuts that came out of their bunker first and started sending missionaries around the country, around the world, to make sure they were the first ones to get their feet underneath them and remind everybody God's still here to lord over you. Then there was the scientists that came out of their bunkers and realized that, like, this planet's fucked. We got to find a new one now. But the religious nuts think it's hell on earth come to pass. So all they're trying to do is sabotage and undermine the science people's efforts to get off the planet. And the regular folks don't like science anymore because their ancestors and everybody bought into the stupid idea of launching pollution into the atmosphere in the first place. So this is the world that exists within Hallowed Be Thy Name, as everybody's trying to come to grips with the fact there's less than 75 years of hospitability-ness. Yeah, what a great book this guy fucking wrote. He can't even say hospitable. So survivability on the planet and dealing with it. That's nuts and bolts of it. It's free at gratwick.co. Just sign up for the newsletter. You can get the book there free. It's also available anywhere that you buy your books online, all of that. If you are like really locked in and love them and want to go for it, go for it. I don't want you to spend money through those channels. You're giving them most of the money anyway. I'm not going to see barely any of those royalties. So it's just there to be there. I'm not promoting it, as you can see. I want you to come to my website, get it for free. Experience. So all of my movies, all my stories, everything takes place in this one big giant Gratwick universe, where they launched the pollution, this future series, the perfect house. All of it exists in this entire expanded universe of content. And Hallowed Be Thy Name is kind of what I want to give as like an introduction, like dive into the world that's more complex than we could possibly make anytime soon in filmmaking wise. Well, Sora might change things. But those were our tent poles for down in the future after we've built like our version of Marvel Studios. But imagine Marvel Studios, if Marvel Studios took a percentage of all of their Marvel Universe films and reinvested that into creators coming up within the Marvel community to be able to make additional content and projects and productions. That's our vision for Gratwick in the full scope of things. Something else I want to talk about here on this episode is I don't think there's enough people that experience consequences from their actions. And I say this not from maybe the angle you think I'm saying it from, but if you don't suffer consequences for your actions, you don't learn from those actions. And without learning from those actions, you don't change. And like one of the things throughout my life that has been consistent is the truth never gave a shit what I thought about it. Like it just was. This is the truth. You deal with it. You act accordingly. You figure it the fuck out. But I don't give a fuck. This is the truth. It's not optional. And very rarely was it rosy, peachy, or in line with what I thought it should be. And I dealt with that. I accepted that. And based on that truth, not my truth, but the truth, I made a lot of mistakes. I fucked up. I thought I was doing right in a lot of situations where I was doing more harm than good. I stubbed my toe more times than I can count. And the thing is, I never seemed to get away without the consequences. It always seemed like everybody knew the second I knew that I fucked up. And like so much so that I adopted this like religious commitment to transparency. That's why I want to do these reality show productions and all of that, because I want people to see an unvarnished reality. And like At times I was trolled, I was tracked, I was harassed. I had fucking anonymous up my ass for freaking my entire birthday years back because I dared to want to bring Just Drive to the table as what I thought I could do as somebody that was inspired by them. They accused me of being a Hollywood elitist trying to steal their hashtag that they took from freaking Harry Potter. The hypocrisy, while judging somebody that actually was willing to put their name behind what they believed. Um, and so at every turn, I wanted to be judged by the truth. I wanted people to have to put themselves in my position, in my choices, in with the limited resources and options available, and stand taller. I mean, come up with a more appropriate or honor bound option or solution than the ones I made. I'm not saying they don't exist and that they're not out there, but I think they would have been doggone hard to do on a number of fronts. I mean, I had the proverbial gun held to my head on multiple fronts, and I've had a literal gun threatened to be held to my head on other fronts. Um, you can slay or attempt to slay. I'm not going to take credit for things I haven't done yet, or may never do. You can attempt to slay much greater dragons when your fear of death is removed from the entire equation. I mean, this is the entire basis of what Just Drive is about. The character, you know, wants to do right, wants to make up for all the wrongs, and doesn't have the courage and guts to kill himself for his guilt and his regret of the past. So the only thing he can think to do is charge head on into the one thing nobody else can do. And if he's cut down doing it, then he accomplished something he wasn't able to do for himself in the first place. And it gives you a clarity. It gives you like this invincibility that can be harnessed if you're honest with yourself. And I mean, I was in a dark place when I wrote Just Drive, and it's weird because I've been trying to get this movie made forever under the right set of circumstances and terms, and just kind of it was a partial prophecy and a partial life insurance policy. Like, bad cabals can't really kill you for exposing them if you made a movie about bad cabals killing somebody for exposing them, right? I mean, then they just validated the story. They just made it true. Like, so I mean, this is the level of ways I've positioned and laid out the map. All of the moves that are aligned. You can't make movies like that. You can't tell stories like that without your own platform. It's never gonna fucking happen. Um, and if you tell me that, like, unless you use somebody else's platform or these third parties, you're never gonna make another movie again, my soul would cry inside, but it would be your loss more than my loss. I get to see my stories. I see my stories in my head. I've written and lived my stories. But I think these stories are the type of stories that artists have been held back from telling in their truest form for generations. And I'm not going to compromise on it. If you want to wait and read it under a bridge when I scribble it there fucking one day in lunatic rantings, so be it. But I'm not going to compromise on how it gets done, how we do it, and where we go. And that's to everybody's benefit that embraces that and understands the power of that. I've had opportunities. I've had funding opportunities. I've had a lot of predatory, slimy people connect and understand the power of the technology I'm talking about building. A lot of them didn't even understand the intellectual property and the real bullets that technology would facilitate, even from just me. But they always revealed themselves rather quickly and always wanted to immediately try to steer me back over to the traditional third party platform, controls everybody, centralized, fucking, wants to micromanage the creators, wants to suck every dollar dry out of the creators. Just everything I'm trying to get away from. Like, I don't want to be a founder because I think I can make $1 billion technology company. I want to build $1 billion technology company because I see a need as a creator. Isn't that supposed to be the greatest reason that people create stuff in the first place? They see a need and want to fill it. But yeah, so all these venture capital places and things, when you start talking about media platforms and stuff like this, they either just want to make it real cookie cutter, or they want to make it real data harvesting friendly, or they just want to make it another Trojan horse for intelligence agencies, or they want to own the whole thing and have you as an employee. I don't roll like that. A lot of them, a couple people were ready to write checks and fund, but their like last question was, well, if Google comes along and offers you $100 million 2 weeks from now, what are you going to do? And I said, no. There's no way. There's no. This isn't being designed to be sold back to the people it competes against. And if they're offering us money and they're trying to absorb us, that means we're an actual threat to accomplishing what we're trying to do. My counteroffer was immediately that we would match whatever buyout offer was proposed, that we would match your share of that in either equity or in a buyout, so that you could walk away, take what you would have gotten to them, and we can continue going on with what the journey was. Nobody liked that. Nobody wanted to do that. But at the end of the day, it always ended up being, you're making rich people even richer. It's what a lot of startup culture ends up doing. They're trying to decentralize that and democratize it a little bit with the crowdfund equity stuff, but it's still extremely cost prohibitive to rise above the noise. I've been trying to rise above the noise authentically for 15 years. I don't want to buy your attention. I hate the idea of buying your attention. But like these, I've watched Legion M. I've watched this fan base come out, and between the two of them, they've raised $70-80 million off of the most watered down, same old version of what I'm talking about that I've ever seen. But here's what they had that we have never had. They had a massive marketing campaign to generate awareness about that offering, about what they were doing, that they could spend thousands and thousands of dollars on ads to drive the traffic to their fan base start engine page, so you could see that they're doing that. I think Legion M was on WeFunder. Again, they did it before you had to register in each state, thousands of dollars in legal costs just to be able to do the crowdfund equity in like 2016 or 17 when they first launched theirs. And it's a numbers game at that point. You spend enough money on ads with a good enough idea, and this idea in its watered down, inauthentic, bastardization versions has been successful to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. And I think they're doing it wrong because they just keep raising money. They're not building bottom up. They have this big pie in the sky goals that they're all trying to raise money to conquer the world overnight. That's not what we want to do. Our goal is to raise $5 million to do a live streamed production of Just Drive and to build the official technology and platform that would be the full-blown first version of the platform, with the MVP mentioned earlier acting as a placeholder until that platform's built. We can do all of that in less than a year. A lot of that $5 million, once we get the project going and we're doing and spending that money, there's soft money and money that can come back to recover those expenses right away. There's ways we plan on generating revenue during the live audition process, during the live production phases, all of this stuff, while then doing another crowdfund equity campaign to raise money for the first slate of projects that would be done by the community. by the first round of subscribers and members of the community that would be submitting their own content to then collectively decide which ones get elevated and considered for production. The goal is to start with 4 projects per year, 1 per quarter, that offers live access to the entire creative process. And each of these projects would have about a $1.5 million budget. Now, when those are successful and moves forward, then we would expand the media fund and ideally either start another media fund. So my goal is to have 10 media funds across the country. So underserved entertainment communities that just don't have the funding to sustain their own talent in the community, their own careers, their own opportunities in the community, can have a community funded media fund that reinvests into projects being shot in the community, artists from the community, and careers and opportunities with these productions. So the goal would be 10 of them all across the country, feeding into these networks and communities and helping them get their own content in their own regions done, and then facilitating all of that through the Gratwick app. And then ideally, once these people get their feet underneath them, build their own audiences, build their own momentum for their careers in that, they would branch out and then use the white label version of the app to establish their own platform and their own creative community for their own brand of content. That's kind of my long-term vision with that. A couple updates on things that are happening. I was supposed to, again, productive procrastination as the theme of the evening. I was supposed to have another 1-hour comedy special done this month for you guys. Did not get that done. I've got it written. I've got the material written. I've just got to shoot it and edit it together. It's not going to be done. If you go on any of the Gratwick sites, we've got a pin there. Chris Bone, a deplorable libtard. It's all political, dark humor, conspiratory comedy material. This one is going to be the complete opposite of that. I'm not saying it's not going to be dark, but there's going to be no politics, no conspiracy elements in this 1-hour comedy special. And it's not going to have a laugh track and just be a voice this time. I'm going to look in the camera and do it. For those that I agree with you. I should stop being a chicken shit and I should do this stuff as stand-up comedy. I've got so much I probably got 3-4 hours of stand-up comedy written and hours more that I could potentially write. But here's the problem. I like the comedians I love, Daniel Tosh, George Carlin, Dave Chappelle, these guys, like, it's a very carefully crafted story that they're telling through the entire course of the hour special. And each part has to be set up right, has to be done right, has to be delivered right, and builds on the part before it. So you can't be all over the place and ad-libbing. And as you can see by this entire episode, I can naturally speak from the hip on pretty much anything, especially if I feel passionately about it or I'm informed about it or I know about it, I can talk about it all day long. But as soon as I have to be on book and say it exactly how it's supposed to be, nothing in my head, blank. I do not understand how people memorize an hour of material. I feel so inauthentic and canned once I get on book, even if I know and have written the script and I know it's fire. I don't know how to deal with that, how to get over it. So the closest thing I know to do is I'm going to record the comedy specials here into the camera in kind of a hybrid version of scripted, but not scripted, so I can be natural with it. And then I can take and do it as many times as I need to until I get one that feels on point and natural. That's the goal. So before I wrap up the episode here, once again, ask you to go to gratwick.co and please join the newsletter. Stay informed as we move down this road to getting the campaign launched. Give you a quick rundown of some of the apps I've used in the last month and a half in case any of them can help you or be beneficial to your efforts. OpenVC, it's almost like a investor founder social network that can help you search out and identify potential investors that align with what you're building and what your target is. We've got a huge list in there of potential people to approach as soon as we get the deck done and repurposed. QuickVid, I mentioned earlier. QuickVid is creates clips. Like when this episode's done, I'm going to download the entire show, upload it to QuickVid. It'll take a little bit to process, and then it'll come back with 50 about 50 clips. Our episode usually ends up in 40 to 50 1 to 2 minute clips. Then you can fine tune the start and end points of those clips and then export them and use them for social media for a while. You might be watching one of those clips right now. StreamYard, always big shout out to StreamYard. Actually, the big shout out goes to Sterling. Sterling's paying for StreamYard, and I'm using it. I was going to try to do a rap reference there, but maybe you caught it, maybe you didn't. Midjourney, talked about Midjourney there earlier. And normally, like, I'm going to try and do these episodes once a month. Normally, I have a little scrolling thing going across the bottom with the link so you can join the show. It's a lot easier when somebody to engage with, ask questions, talk about, shoot the shit, go back and forth on. All of these images, I'm going to switch back over here and get my face off the screen. All of these images were created on Midjourney. They're cool. They look really nice, and some of them are very well detailed and all of that, but they were not what I was going for with the prompt. ChatGPT, man, if Sora is what Sora looks like it is, tomorrow becomes a very weird place where anyone can make a movie overnight by themselves. I'm not going to say they're all going to be good movies, but man, oh man, if people think there's a ton of content out there now, just wait until that last barrier is removed from the equation. Notion, paying for Notion. It's a project management tool, but so much more. It's got a CRM in there. It's got a lot of information in there. I'm kind of terrible with these project management tools because I end up getting so much information put into there that it then just becomes overwhelming every time I open it up and get bombarded by the information. I work best almost in the chaos of the storm. So like I'm constantly creating to-do lists on mail, on envelopes, on all of that type of shit, and just pouring through it. So like if 2 days go by and I haven't opened up Notion, I've done 30 other things that I didn't even put into Notion yet and already got them done. And I'm getting yelled at by 30 other things in Notion that I was supposed to do that I didn't get done because I did it on a different to-do list. It becomes a full-time job keeping up with everything I'm working on and getting done. Then 11labs.io. That was the site that I used to do the voice test or the voice cloning. Probably, I don't know. I may or may not share the video that I played and made. I haven't decided yet. So this concludes Gradcast for this month. Actually, for the last 2 months. Appreciate everybody that's been listening in and watching the show. Please stay in the loop of what we're doing. If you got a chance to give a like or a share, always appreciated. Don't feel afraid to throw some comments out there from time to time, even if you're throwing a little digital shit at me. I don't want to just stand here and lecture. I ramble. You gotta fill the silence. Can't sit here with dead air. But yeah, check out gratwick.co. Let us know what you think is working and is winning you over, and what areas are a little confusing, and you could have some more questions on, and we'll get her done, get her fixed up. Look for mid-month in April for the next Gratcast. That's it. I gotta start making some intros and outros for this shit. Just kind of coming in raw and going out dry. That's Gratcast.